face it. Best form of defense.
Help me! Go away! I'm gonna carve your head! You never come back!
Talking The Gatehouse, written and directed by Martin Gooch, and this one's coming out on the 5th of December by Uncork'd Entertainment 2017. And I would best describe this movie as a pagan Gothic fairy tale. So the story here, it's a low budget British movie, I believe it was made in 2016. And tells the story of this kind of father and his young 10-year-old daughter as they are living in this kind of ancestral home, basically, after the death of the mother in a kind of a boating accident. And it's this kind of quiet, kind of country village. There seems to be some legend in regards to the actual forest itself, and the guy's like a writer, and he's writing his piece on this kind of legend, this black flower, which is meant to be at the heart of the forest. And there's this legend of this kind of like this being, this entity, basically, this kind of like god of the forest type thing that seems to be coming out and kind of maybe menacing the local kind of residents of this small community, basically, and ends up being a bit of a threat to certain people. And it kind of ends up being almost like a kind of national treasure type thing, this kind of looking at clues and finding out what's going on and uncovering the truth, etc. So that's what I will say about the plot with The Gatehouse. So what do I think of The Gatehouse? Let's talk about the positives first of all. Number one, and I think this is definitely the standout here, is the cinematography here is very good. There are some fantastically beautiful shots in this movie. The cinematographer and director here have definitely got an eye for capturing some truly fantastical shots of these kind of like misty forests and stuff like that. It truly does look pretty magical. It really does look very kind of like rustic and has this kind of otherworldly feel to it. Number two, I think the father and daughter relationship here, and I do have a little bit of a problem with this, but we'll come on to the negatives, but as a rule, I really liked their kind of realistic portrayal of a father and daughter in real life, because they're not perfect people, which I'll come on to. But their interactions and stuff like that, I kind of liked. And on one hand, I thought the dad comes across as quite well. You know, he's taking the daughter out. She likes treasure hunting and stuff like that. And they're kind of like little kind of silly interactions that they have seem quite realistic and quite real, just working class kind of like parents and kids. That was all quite good. And I think overall, the young girl here is quite a good actor. She was overacted a couple of times, as we'll come on to, but for the most part, her kind of actions with her father are pretty good. They seem kind of like real people, basically. So that was quite good. I also quite like the design of the creature. I'll come on to that again in a negative, but the concept of the creature is actually quite good. You see it in the box art. I think it looks quite pretty, you know, it's pretty menacing looking when you see it in a still. But what doesn't work? The tone of this film is the weirdest thing for me. Okay, so if you've ever seen a kind of a BBC made-for-TV kind of Halloween special made for children, it has that look to it. It looks like it's made for TV, maybe in the kind of the 90s, and it has this weird sort of like made-for-TV kids feel to it. However, it isn't, because there's actually a couple of scenes of gore. There's a scene where someone, you know, we see fingers being cut off in quite gruesome detail. And we also see a 10-year-old girl commit cold-blooded murder. So clearly it isn't a made-for-kids thing, but other than that, it kind of looks like it should be. If you're from the States, have you ever seen Goosebumps? That sort of thing, a kind of kids horror film, but definitely there are moments here of adult content, so it fits uncomfortably between the two of them. I think it would have worked better if it was actually going to just made for kids, make it a kind of kids horror film and be done with it, without the kind of maybe of the more sometimes adult content. otherwise it needed a bit more money into it to try and make it more of a adult feeling film. So that's the main thing I feel. The production value here is very low. It's a low budget movie, and it really does become apparent with the very kind of obvious video effects and stuff like that. The creature itself, I like the concept of the creature, but I don't feel it works because it looks like just a guy in a Halloween costume. It's meant to be this otherworldly entity, but it's just a kind of like a long cloak with some leaves stuck onto it and a kind of like, you know, odd headpiece. It looks like a man, basically, and doesn't really do a whole lot, if we're completely honest. The acting as well is a bit of a mixed bag, like I've mentioned. I did like the relationship between the father and daughter, but both of them overact on occasions. So again, the acting is kind of mixed. Some of the other characters as well, you know, just maybe not bad, but just kind of unconfident and just kind of there's a little bit of overacting from some of the other supporting characters as well. It's actually quite a slow film, so if you don't like slow burns, it's maybe not the one for you. And I did find that there are leaps in logic with how people get to conclusions about kind of unravelling this mystery. They just seem to get there without really any kind of like steps, and people just kind of believe it straight away. They're just like, oh, it just didn't seem particularly a natural and kind of like a cohesive route to get to these kind of conclusions that they come to. So overall, I feel this movie has some good ideas, and I feel this movie has a good concept. I do think it's kind of held back by the lack of budget, and I think the kind of the uneven tone does not help this movie, because I feel if you're an adult and you watch this, you're going to feel like you're watching something that's just made for kids. It seems quite not because it's got a kid in such a prominent role, but just the feel of it seems like it's like a BBC Halloween special or a Goosebumps. It seems quite basic on that level. But if you're a kid, there's maybe a little bit too much adult content in for you as well. So it kind of sits in this kind of weird grey zone, basically. But the lack of budget, I feel, would put some people off. But like I said, if you like the kind of like a modern fairy tale, a kind of, you can look past maybe some of the budgetary issues, and you just want this kind of like Gothic fable, then you may want to check it out. So overall, I'll give this movie a 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.